except that this cornerback is starting to emerge, and I think that's a great sign for the Oklahoma Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On College Football Podcast. Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron with discussion on the upcoming season and the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, new college football, expanded playoffs, and more. Locked On College Football is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, be on the lookout for the Locked On SEC preview that's going to be dropping in your feeds here in the next week or so, getting you ready with hosts covering every SEC team. I think except Mississippi State was on the docket, but we got coverage for you here because we cover your team every single day. You're going to get Oklahoma Sooners, but you're going to get insight from hosts across the country and across the SEC footprint. As we get ready for the 2024 college football season, on defense, maybe the only position that we have questions about is cornerback. And that's because Gentry Williams, coming off of the shoulder injury that he suffered and dealt with all year long last year, got a little bit dinged up in Oklahoma scrimmage this past Saturday. Woody Washington's back, but moving all over the defense. You need improved cornerback play, and it sounds like Oklahoma might be really heading in a nice trajectory as it pertains to cornerback play.
Yeah, it's little nervous on the Gentry piece, right? You know, he's coming off shoulder surgery and he spent all the spring on that, but they said he looked good and healthy, and then he probably, got a little stinger from it, because he's pretty aggressive out there at corner, which, you want, right? You want a guy that's like that, but you don't want to be too aggressive when he has a shoulder situation like he does. But the anticipation I've heard from people out of Tulsa area where he's from, Tulsa Booker T, that he'll be ready for game one and be just fine. And so they're probably going to rest him up, make sure everything's good, just keep him warm and everything, and make sure he doesn't hurt himself, but get him out there for Temple to see, level set and then see what it looks like going up against Tulane, right? That's going to be probably one of the critical games because Tulane's going to be a physical one. It's one that he's going to really need to hit somebody. Mario Williams may show up or something across the middle and you had to go after him. But anyway, there are a lot of questions when it comes to the secondary, especially the corner spot, because, John, as we talk about it, when you take Gentry out, take Woody out, because I think Woody's going to move around. That's kind of been some of the reports. They want to move him around in multiple spots. Who do we really see going out there at corner? Because I've one name that's been jumping out in camp. One name y'all need to know about. One name that it seems to be the one that y'all be prepared for. Jacobe Johnson. 6'2", 200-pounder, hops, because he's a basketball player, and he's fast. Like another Gentry, but I think he's bigger. John, could the young boy go in there and take some game?
Yeah, Mustang Zone, Jacobe Johnson looks like he's starting to emerge a little bit. George Stoya said he is starting to make a serious push for the rotation. He's inexperienced, but still has a ton of playmaking ability. Yep. And that's what the staff is loving about him right now. And that's the exciting thing. Brent Venables' defense wants players that are going to make plays. We're not just trying to keep everything in front of us and not give up big plays and not, nickel and dime people to death and not make people drive the field. Yeah, right. You want to make people drive the field, but you're going to want to make plays on the football when you get an opportunity to make plays on the football. And I think that's what they love about Jacobe Johnson. His experience as a wide receiver there, also with Mustang, I think that benefits him because when you're a wide receiver of his size, you're doing a lot of contested catch stuff. You're going up to get the football. You're going above the rim to challenge the ball in the air. And that's going to bode well for him as he makes that full-time commitment to cornerback. And the 4-star prospect out of high school is going to get a chance to play some this year. Gentry Williams, if he's healthy and he's good, he's your primary starter at corner. But they're going to rotate guys. We've seen him do it. Woody Washington, he's going to get a lot of run at cornerback as well. We've heard really good things out of Eli Bowen, and you love the talent you have with the Makari Vickers, Des Malone. But Jacobe Johnson, best case scenario is he is your third corner. He's that backup corner to either spot. and he does get a lot of run this year, because that means his trajectory is on pace to start for you in 2025 at the very least.
Yeah, and that's when you're looking, right? You can't look at just this season, because the good thing for this season is we have a lot of experience that's going to be playing. So yeah, we've got to start looking at next season. So your Jacoby's, your Makari Vickers, right? You got Jeremiah Newcomb who just came in. You got a lot of young players that you're going to start to build up. But the good thing is that majority of our corners we're building a good amount of veteran presence here, which I love that it's starting to come that way. But yeah, you got to start looking down the line too with how you're going to play people. And so Dobie's going to probably be gone after this year. So is Woody. The expectation is Gentry most likely, unless, knock on wood, hopefully he doesn't deal with injuries. If he does deal with too many, he'll probably be back one more year, which that's not a bad thing. It's actually probably a pretty good thing. Kanai Walker, I'm wondering how much longer he's got. I think he's got I think he came here as a redshirt sophomore. So
yeah, he's going to have time.
So I think he's got an additional year, but he's another emerging name, right? He's probably been the most consistent. And I think it's because he's very much a veteran, because he came here from Louisville. Mm-hmm. And so he's got immense talent. I think he's one that once you put him in the right spots, I think him and Des Malone together in more of a zone setup, it's going to be nasty for defenses to try to figure out. You have your Gentry and a Jacobe you probably put Jacobe as the boundary guy and Gentry as field, because Gentry is the more experienced dude. He's the one you trust the most. But the room is really growing. And then, of course, little Eli Boeing, who's been everywhere between Cheetah and corner. John, I think Valai and them is doing some work.
Yeah, they've got a lot more depth now than they did when they got started here at Oklahoma. I mean, it's been transformed. I mean, Woody's the only holdover from the position. And then you've added a bunch of guys over the last 3 off seasons. Gentry Williams in that 2022 class. Kanai Walker, I think he came in as a transfer in the 2022 off season, if I remember correctly, if not the 2023 off season.
I think you're right.
But he's been here a minute. But I mean, it's been a massive overhaul on both sides of the ball. I mean, Brent Venables has highlighted that each off season, how much turnover they've had. But I think you look at the work that Jay Valai has done on the recruiting trail, both in the transfer portal and in the high school ranks. And man, he's really set this thing up really, really well, because you've got 4-star cornerbacks waiting in the wings in Jacobe Johnson and Makari Vickers and Jeremiah Newcomb. You've got young athletic playmakers, even though maybe a little bit undersized, and Eli Bowen and a guy that's going to be coming soon, Malik Hawkins as well. Like this cornerback thing is set up to be really, really good moving forward in 2024 and moving forward. I think it's probably one of the under the radar positions, because you're so excited about what you have up front with the defensive line. You're really, really excited about your linebacker and safety groups. That cornerback has kind of flown under the radar because there's so much talent on this defense. But that's going to help the cornerback room so much, especially if you get guys like R. Mason Thomas and Adepoju Adebaware getting consistent pass rush and getting off the ball really quickly and staying healthy. It's going to help those cornerbacks not have to cover for 4 seconds, 5 seconds. You're covering more than 2.5 seconds, and it's going to be a struggle for anybody. So if we can improve the pass rush, it's going to greatly improve what we see out of this cornerback room this year and moving forward.
Yeah. The depth that we have is going to be so, and it's funny because as I think about this more, the depth that we have is going to be so interesting for fans to be able to say, guys, we have a defense that actually stops people from passing the ball, right? It's a wild concept. I know it's something that Sooner fans are not used to. Y'all have heard me say this numerous times, but that's the thing to keep in mind, is that as we've gone through each one of these positions, you got to look at it. We've got a defense that's got a 2 deep that can all actually play right now. It's shocking disbelief, something that we haven't seen in years.
Yeah, and we'll get to the safety group on our Friday episode. And, man, I cannot wait to talk about those dudes because it's a group of dudes. And we're going to need them
do.
all. They're all going to have to be big-time contributors because Lane Kiffin has done work in the transfer portal to create what could be a national title contender at Ole Miss. We'll discuss coming up next on Locked On Sooners.